Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Genesis of Omniverse Life podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of a groundbreaking project that aims to transform the way we live, connect, and collaborate. In this series, we will explore the origins of Omniverse Life, its vision, and its goals. Why was this initiative born? What makes it different from anything else? How are we working to bring it to life? And why it is needed in today's world? So let's join us and share the exciting journey of building Omniverse Life from the ground up and hear from the experts and minds behind this project. So today we are thrilled to have and welcome our very first guest right from the cosmos, as you can see, Sneha Potla. Sneha is the visionary and driving force behind the Omniverse Life, and she is also the brainchild of this project. Her dedication, creativity, and unwavering belief in this potential of this particular initiative has shaped the Omniverse Life from its early stages to where it is right now. So, at the same time, let me allow to introduce myself. So, this is Shruti, your host for this journey. I am a transdisciplinary designer and I have the privilege of working closely with various parts of this project, and my role spans from multiple disciplines, and I'm excited to bring you into this world of Omniverse Life, where creativity, technology, collaboration, and a lifelong learning intersect. So I will be guiding these conversations with incredible thought leaders like Sneha and more to come. So let's hear from first hand from Sneha how she has brought this entire vision into life and how her passion and leadership have been the center into its inception. So it's my truly honor to hear from her as she shares the project or the story of this project start from its innovation. So welcome Sneha. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you. I'm glad that we are doing this. So let me begin with how we started on this journey. So there was this. I come basically from a chartered accountancy background, and as a chartered accountant, when I started looking into the problems that we are facing today in the world, there was this realization that the way we understand economics is that it it's more towards, it has somehow become more about accumulation, material accumulation, and happiness is equated, or well-being is equated with our ability to consume, and that has become the standard metric for the world to measure progress, which is GDP. And we are in the times where we have crossed some of the critical boundaries, ecological boundaries of the planet, which puts our future into danger. And there's a strong realization that we need to turn the trajectory. So when, as a chartered accountant, I started thinking about this, so what I realized was that we need one earth balance sheet, or we need to relook economics from a very fresh lens. All right. And that it's not about linear growth or a never ending growth, but it's more about finding balance. That is balance between what we need and what earth can provide us sustainably. And with that, how can we fulfill the needs for all on this planet rather than the few? And how can we then create happiness? So it started initially with the initiative of compiling One Earth balance sheet. So we delved deep into the research for doing that, and wrote several papers. But in that process, the other realizations that happened, which were quite experiential, was that One Earth balance sheet in itself is not enough, because what this economic paradigm of unlimited growth, or profit at all cost, has done is that it has not only caused environmental damage, but it has also caused huge amount of social damage. And not only that, which is, largely ignored even in today's discourse, is that it has caused huge amount of how do I say this? A huge amount of, damage in the way of being or how we show up in the world. Okay, in our intellect, in our psyche. Okay, so the realization was that the problems that we are, and I mean the times that we are in and the problems that we are facing today, and if we want to solve these problems, we cannot solve it with a single initiative or a single approach. It needs an ecosystem of initiatives or a systems approach to solve it, which addresses the problem at its root, that is, at by changing the economic paradigm, but it also needs to fix the damage that it has done in the society and the damage that it has done to our psyche or our way of being, or how we live today. All right, the choices that we make. So that is why that has been the inspiration behind this project, that is to weave together an ecosystem of initiatives that can help us, as I say, help us turn the trajectory, turn the current trajectory from hell being, we are accelerating towards hell being today, to well-being. So that's if I have to answer, that has been the inspiration. That is the word in itself, omniverse life. Both of these words are very important. So omni means to take a holistic approach, that is to weave together to weave together the uh, siloed initiative so that it can become an integrated whole. Okay, so it's about finding harmony. It's about finding harmony or unity in diversity. So it's not about promoting universalism. So initially it was about standardization, right? If we see today in our world, be it India, or be it I'm talking about the modern infrastructure. Okay, so most of the things have become standardized. Even our clothing has become standardized across countries, right? Our food, more or less, is becoming standardized across countries, right? So there was this whole movement of standardization and universalization, where there was this, during the colonial period, there was this, certain way of doing things, and that was considered as the only right way of doing things, because that's how the development was defined, right? Like for example, in many places, if you have to take example of Japan, so their traditional ways of building houses were considered, inferior to the modern ways of constructing houses, and therefore the law was passed that all the houses needs to be concrete cement houses. Otherwise, those would not be allowed to, other ways of building would not be allowed to be built, right? So there was this whole movement of standardization, and this happened not just in Japan, but we see it in India as well, in the Himalayas, and we are facing the brunt of it, right? Where we are putting solutions which are not in harmony with the bioregional reality or the context. And then recently there's this growing movement of pluriversalism, that is to again allow diversity, right? To respect and appreciate different ways of being, indigenous ways of being. But again, that's wonderful movement, but what's lacking there is realization again that even in diversity there is inherent unity. We cannot ignore the fact that we are interconnected. All right, so omniversalism or omniverse is about finding the unity or harmony in diversity. So it's not about standardization as before or promoting universalism, but rather finding a middle path that can allow diversity to thrive, and yet allow it to happen within the ecological and the social boundaries of the planet. So, and the life is important because it's about designing for life to flourish. All right. So, it's about making life affirming choices rather than life negating choices. So, I think it's no secret that today, I mean, the crisis that we are facing is the result of, maybe whether we acknowledge it or not, but life negating choices that we have made so far in the history, right? So it's about coming to now life affirming choices and designing for life to thrive and life to flourish.
It's very insightful and a beautiful perspective, I could say. So that brings many questions. So the first one I would like to ask you is, okay, like it's a beautiful inspiration, but how are you working in bringing it to life? In like how is it transforming from an ideology or a thinking, like from thinking to like, action? Like what is that drive, or what is filling that gap from knowledge to action?
Mm. So a lot of initial years, I mean, we have been now working on this since 2021 officially, and before that, since 2018, I've been personally doing, a lot of research, independent research on these subjects. So we have already spent about more than now 7 years thinking about this in detail and understanding the problems holistically. So it has been a journey of I mean, great realizations and some enlightening insights, and many of it we have put it down together in many of the articles and research papers, and we are continuing to do so. It is a continuous, ever evolving journey. It's not that we have found all the answers yet, but we have reached today a point where we think that the journey ahead is through learning by doing. Okay, so whatever we have realized so far, okay, be it the need for the One Earth balance sheet, or be it to relook at rural development from, or I mean, the whole concept of development from a fresh perspective at the city level or village level, be it creating tech ecosystems for to allow the society to thrive within the planetary and ecological boundaries. So all of these now are being put into action in in small pilot locations, and also at small pilot scales. And through those small pilots, we are learning and evolving every day. So we have started compiling village level balance sheets in Malaysia and Bhutan. We have um, started, looking at how the architecture of the tech ecosystem can be designed and put into action. So the global Creative Commons is already coming alive for the farmers in Europe. And then the smart omni village concept of looking development from a completely fresh paradigm already being piloted in, again, Malaysia and Bhutan. So uh, that's about the journey so far, and I think we're taking small steps. And the big realization is that it's only when we put knowledge into action, the as it is said in Buddhism also, right, that insight alone is not enough. It has to be lived, and only by living that we can, evolve. So I think we are in tune. I mean, we're putting that philosophy into action, and whatever knowledge or insights we have gained, we want to make sure that we put it into action so that we ourselves are not delusioned right? Mm.
Question would be, for example, if a person has no idea, I, of course, you told about inspiration, you also told about like how there are new initiatives coming into picture. But if the listener or a viewer who has completely no idea about what is happening or what will happen after this, so how can you explain to people or people who are new to this project or initiative? So, in simple words, how can you explain like what is it about, what is it doing, and what is happening?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Um, I mean, put it in very simple terms. What we are trying to do here is we are actually trying to do impossible. Which many people may think that it's impossible, but we are actually attempting to do the impossible, and that starts with, I mean, the initiatives that we have, the way it's collates together is to start with first finding harmony within oneself, um, the integrating the many cells that we have within ourselves, and through the journey of the self realization. So only when we have I mean, let me take a step back and explain you in a bit more detail, and then I think it would resonate with people who are new to this, and who want to understand this in a much simpler language and not in an academic jargon. So, I mean, everybody would agree with this that I mean, we may disagree with many things. Or on many different subjects. But I think one thing that we all agree upon is that none of us wants to suffer, right? Is there anybody? I don't think there's anybody, even the devil would say that I don't want to suffer. Okay, so that's a common ground where even the devil and the divine can, agree with each other that none of them also wants to suffer, right? So this what why this is I mean, what this tells us is that as humanity, what we are really trying, or striving towards when we get up to work every day is to avoid suffering, right? That none of us want to suffer, and we want to all avoid suffering. But so far, our approach to avoid suffering has been that we try to transfer our suffering to the another person, okay, or towards something else. Like, for example, maybe transferring suffering to nature, okay, by taking more from it, okay, or by cutting down trees, or maybe transferring suffering to the south, say for example, maybe the African countries, or the developing regions, right? Or maybe transferring suffering to our neighbors, or someone else, thinking that by transferring the suffering we can become happy. But now we are beginning to realize and see that what goes around comes around, right? So when we have started transferring suffering, actually it's creating more suffering. So what we are trying to here achieve is to how that we can elevate suffering rather than transfer suffering. Okay, elevate suffering for all. So, in simple terms, if I have to say, so that's what we are doing. So, that's our ambition and aspiration, that how can we elevate suffering for all, and how can we create omni-win situation for the society and for human civilization.
The first thought which comes after listening to this is like, how are you doing this? How is the suffering getting elevated?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it needs a very nuanced approach. It needs a very nuanced thinking, and I don't think that this is a topic of just one podcast, and that's why we need to have a series of them, so that we can address the many different issues that needs to be addressed. But just to give a small summary on this, is that uh, if we think about how our reality is shaped, okay, so who is responsible for what's happening today in the society, or the reality that we are facing today? So we'll realize that it is us as individuals. I mean, we may think that it is markets, or it is government, or it is this organization or that organization, but behind every organization, every government or market is a human, or is an individual, right? And we may blame some specific individuals for their shortcomings, or the things or the decisions that they took that is leading to the harm, or their habits, or their greed, or whatever, right? There could be endless game of the endless blame game, right? But ultimately it's the humans, it's us as individuals, okay, and each of our choices and actions and our words at every moment has contributed to creating this reality, right? So if the change has to start, it has to start at the individual level, right? And then if we want to change the individual choices, or their actions, or our behavior, or our words, all right, so we need to look at what influences our choices, what influences our behavior, and what influences our speech, right? Okay, so if we look into the history, so far, I mean, largely it has been faith or religion, number one, right? Because whatever we believe in, we tend to practice, right? The second is the level of self realization or self awareness, that how much aware we are of our potential, or the reality, or the truth of the existence. Okay. Third is the rules of trade and commerce, right? Because as we are seeing today, and I think it's proven in the latest research also, that uh, the rules that we set, or the culture that we set, okay, shapes human behavior. So when economics or the rules of trade and commerce became all about accumulating profits, or accumulating material wealth, so it fostered greed, and a lot of people, whether they wanted to be or not, but to survive in the system, they had to take those choices and decisions, right? And the fifth is the laws, right? So say for example, if something is illegal, so that influences one's behavior and actions, right? Or if something is fostered or encouraged in the society through subsidies or whatever, it influences behavior and choices and actions, okay, individual choices and actions. So our research largely has been on how can we reshape these factors, these five elements, okay, how can we redesign this, or enlighten it uh, from the perspective of the truth, like for the faith and religion, how can we um, uh, look at its substance rather than the form, okay, how can we make people realize the substance rather than the form, how can we make more more and more individuals self-realized, how can we design the economic systems in a manner that um, it creates harmony, or it fulfills the needs of all, without making individuals chase after profit incessantly or chase after or become greedy? How can we reshape the laws so that it creates, life affirming choices or fosters life affirming choices for the individuals? And how can we create knowledge systems that can, lead to enlightened choices? So it's really about putting a human life or um, you know fulfillment or the goal of the fulfillment of human life at the center, and then designing the various different elements around it that shapes the choices and the behavior largely of the human, so that they do not take choices which creates, destruction in the long term, but it creates harmony or omni-win situations for everybody. So yeah.
It's insightful and very thought provoking in itself, I feel. So maybe like even I myself, while listening, it was like a lot of thoughts coming into picture, or understanding like how right now where we are, basically like just pondering upon like where we are, like not only in your good houses or shelter, but holistically like where we are right now. Like, step out, where we are as a city, where we are as a state or a country. So it's a lot to think about, and I personally feel this could be not only a need of the hour, but it has been a need many years ago. But I really like the part like better to start now than later. It's always now. Also, the thought of like be the change you need to see the in the world. So it's very interesting to know, and of course, like I feel like in the upcoming podcast where we go more in detail, but overall just to understand the genesis, like what is it, how is it, where the inspiration is coming from. It's really nice to know the start, just the beginning. So I think like what you just spoke right now, or we are getting to know, is just the beginning, and I think there will be like more to come with time, and more to understand, also more to grasp, more to learn as well. And, so maybe like one last question before we end this podcast is like, what, like, how do you like keep consistency in this thought process? Like, is it possible that something which you thought right yesterday is not right today, and now you have to change? But how do you cope up with these continuous changes? Like, of course, like there is high possibility like something which you might have considered right, say 3 years ago, may not be valid right now, or something, it's ever changing. So overall, like what is your takeaway from your journey this far, and what are you like looking forward to? Just these two questions maybe.
um I mean, the consistency is in the aspiration, all right? So the aspiration stays, okay? Because that's to create the omni-win situation. So until that happens, you cannot rest, okay? So that gives the consistency, okay? So the approach keeps on evolving with the ever-changing reality, and also, uh, through learning by doing, by putting knowledge into action. But because the aspiration is consistent, the efforts remain consistent, okay? So that gives the strength also to overcome the setbacks, all right? And to not stop until we have realized the aspiration. um, and I think from here, we just and what I'm hoping for is for more and more people um, to join this initiative, to join this movement. I mean, not necessary that, you contact, they need to be in touch with this particular project, but as I said, that it begins with an individual. It begins with self introspection, and it begins with asking the questions that what is it that is really shaping my choices and behavior every day, and my actions. Okay, what factors are doing that? All right. So when one starts self introspecting, I think that then that could, change a lot of things, and it has the potential to change how we, show up in the world. All right. So I think what I'm looking forward to is more and more people taking time out from their daily grind and busy schedules to just introspect, self introspect, on their choices and on their behavior and on their life. And yeah, and I think I'm very, optimistic and positive that I don't think that I am, gloomed or doomed by all the negative news that we are, bombarded with every single day. I think, I personally feel hopeful, and, very positive that, and I have not given up on, humanity. And I feel that it's only a matter of time, and it is inevitable that we'll arrive at this um, reality where we have created the omnivorous situation for the humanity.
It's a very beautiful seed of thought, I would say. So let's see, like, let's look forward to like blooming this thought into a tree as we go ahead with more insights, more thoughts, and just more stories. I would say, like, it's a nice story in general to understand what could be, like what could be, what is the possibility, or what can we have. So it not necessarily change, but what more can we have, or what less also can we have at the same time. So it's a really nice thought process. So I hope the listeners enjoyed this Genesis of Omniverse. And we look forward to more such interesting stories and interesting conversations with more thought leaders and just common people like us who just wish to